Chilling rerun of Shraddha murder case. Monster strangles his girlfriend. Then gets married on same day. Shraddha murder rerun crime special on 6 p.m. Prime.
Hello and welcome. You're watching 6 p.m. Prime. I'm Akshita and Nandgopal, and this evening we're putting our focus on the latest horror crime that's been reported from the national capital. Once again, what we saw in the Shraddha Walkar murder case, where Aftab Poonawalla murdered Shraddha, chopped her body into pieces and stuffed her body into a fridge. That's repeated, believe it or not, in Delhi. So in this edition of 6 p.m. Prime, we're going to be talking about what happened to young 22-year-old Nikki Yadav that ultimately led to her death. Here are the headlines first. Day 2 of searches at BBC offices by Income Tax Department. Sources say searches may be on for 3 days. BBC asks employees to cooperate in investigation. Army personnel beaten to death by DMK councillor and 9 aides. DMK Neta Chinnasamy on the run, his son arrested. War over revered Shiva shrine. Assam government ad claims 6th Jyotirlinga in Kamrup. Uddhav Sena claims 6 Jyotirlingas in Pune. Says first projects, now gods are being taken away. Violent communal clashes break out between Hindu and Muslim groups in Jharkhand's Palamu district. Dispute over construction of a makeshift gate for Mahashivratri. Karnataka BJP chief Nalin Kumar Katil stokes row once again. Says we worship Ram and Hanuman, not Tippu. Says we'll chase those backing Tippu out. Death toll from Turkey and Syria earthquakes crosses over 40,000. More people found alive as rescue efforts continue for over 200 hours. We were all shocked, numb really, with what happened in the national capital a few months ago when the murder of Shraddha Walkar came to light. The accused Aftab Poonawalla is in custody. In fact, the charge sheet came out a few days ago with gruesome details of how he carried out the murder of his live-in partner. So even as we're overcoming something like that, you're seeing another similar incident being reported. In this case, 22-year-old Nikki Yadav was murdered by her boyfriend, her live-in partner, using the charging cable in the car, in their white Verna, where they were arguing. Why? Because he had in fact gone ahead and arranged his marriage with someone else. So after murdering Nikki Yadav, the accused Sahil then went ahead and dumped her body in his dhaba, in his family-owned dhaba, in the refrigerator. Came back and got married as per the plan. Here are all the details of this horrifying story.
Shraddha Walkar and Nikki Yadav, victims of 2 horrifying murders, with the same modus operandi and motive. Bodies of the 2 live-in partners stored in fridges, and in both instances, the killers were chillingly remorseless. A terrifying rerun of the Shraddha murder case in Delhi. 22-year-old Nikki Yadav strangled by her live-in partner, 24-year-old Sahil Gehlot, earlier this month, after a heated tiff over his impending marriage. The accused strangled Nikki with a mobile charging cable in this car after she questioned his marriage. After murdering his partner, Sahil drove for 40 kilometers with the body, finally dumping the lifeless body in the fridge of a dhaba in Delhi's Najafgarh. And believe it or not, moments after the murder, killer Sahil went ahead and got married to another girl. the very same day. The act eerily similar to Shraddha's killer Aftab, dating another woman while her body was lying in fridge in the very same room.
इस वक्त हम मौजूद हैं बाबा हरिदास नगर पुलिस स्टेशन में और ये जो गाड़ी आप सफेद रंग की देख रहे हैं यही वो वरना कार है जो साहिल गहलोत की है। ये गोवा का रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर है। आप देखिए इसी गाड़ी में वो रात में घूम रहा था 9 और 10 की रात और उसके बाद उसने कॉल करके निक्की यादव को बुलाया। निक्की यादव जब पहुंचती है तो इसी गाड़ी में दोनों दिल्ली की सड़कों पर घूमते रहते हैं। 9 तारीख को इसकी सगाई हो गई थी साहिल गहलोत की, लेकिन 10 को शादी थी। जब ये जानकारी निक्की को लगी तो निक्की और साहिल के बीच झगड़ा शुरू हो गया। अब पुलिस को यह कहना है कि इसी दौरान जब झगड़ा हुआ तो गाड़ी के अंदर ही जो मोबाइल का चार्जर होता है उसके तार से गला दबा करके हत्या कर दी।
India Today accessed Nikki's CCTV images moments before she went to meet Sahil and got murdered. Unlike Shraddha's missing body parts, cops recovered a fully preserved body of Nikki from the fridge of the dhaba.
बाहरी दिल्ली का ये इलाका है नजफगढ़ के आगे। ये ढाबा है, ये बंद सा इलाका है। ये ऐसा नहीं कि ये ढाबा वर्किंग है। यहाँ पर एक फ्रिज में ला करके उसने निक्की की लाश को रख दी थी क्योंकि उसकी शादी थी। अब पुलिस ये पता लगाने की कोशिश कर रही है कि किस तरीके से उसकी आगे प्लानिंग क्या थी, वो बॉडी को कैसे ठिकाने लगाने वाला था।
फोन्स में जो भी डाटा है उसको रिकवर करेंगे और जो जहाँ वो उसको घुमा के लेके गया मर्डर के दौरान वहाँ की कोशिश कर रहे हैं अगर सीसीटीवी फुटेज वगैरह मिल जाए। हालांकि रात का समय है तो वो सारे साक्ष्य हम जुटा रहे हैं।
Nikki's father said his family was unaware about Nikki's relationship and Sahil had misled him about her whereabouts.
10 तारीख के बाद बात हुई थी साहिल से?
हाँ जी।
तो क्या बोला था उसने जब पूछा अपनी बेटी के बारे में?
मैंने बोला जी मेरी बेटी कहाँ है, तो उसने बोला कि आपकी बेटी तो घूमने गई है। मैं कहाँ घूमने गई? कह रहा वो अपने दोस्तों के साथ देहरादून मंसूरी घूमने गई है। मैंने उसका फोन कहा है, कह रहा उसका फोन, वो फोन मेरे पास छोड़ दी। मैं क्यों तुम्हारे पास फोन कैसे छोड़ दी? कह रहा बस वो ऐसे ही छोड़ दी कि मैं फोन नहीं ले जाऊंगी, ऐसे ही जाओ।
क्या आपकी जो बेटी निक्की उसका फोन ऑन था?
नहीं जी,
फोन ऑफ था।
हाँ जी, फोन ऑफ है। फोन उसी के पास है, उसने तो बोल रखा कि फोन मेरे पास है।
The family also made a desperate plea for justice.
ये कानून जो कानून है देश की, तो अम्बेडकर की जो कानून है बनाई है अम्बेडकर ने, उस कानून में तो फैसला वो फैसला होगा। अगर नहीं होगा तो हम अपने हाथ से फैसला करेंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
अब ये जो घटना हो गई है तो आपकी क्या मांग है, क्या चाहते हैं सर?
हमारी तो मांग ये है जी, हमारी बेटी का कत्ल कर दिया गया तो उसको सजा मौत होनी चाहिए।
While Shraddha's family still awaits justice, will it be any different for Nikki Yadav's near ones? With Himanshu Mishra, Arvind Ojha and Akshay Dongre in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Our hearts go out to Nikki's family. Her body, the 22-year-old's body, has now been taken back to her hometown, to her family in Jharkhand. Nikki was captured for the last time on a CCTV camera installed in her building, where she can be seen taking the stairs to her house. Now, after that, according to what in fact the family has said, they knew something was amiss because they called her phone and it was Sahil who picked up. Sahil then told Nikki's family and Nikki's father that she had gone on a trip and left her phone behind. It didn't seem like everything was okay, which is why in fact Nikki's family then alerted the cops, and then they found that she'd been murdered. Akshay Dongre is joining us live from Jharkhand in Haryana, where in fact Nikki's mortal remains have been taken. Truly heartbreaking for the family. They've lost a loved one, just 22 years old, Akshay.
Well, absolutely, Akshita, and in fact, just to give an update about this entire case to our viewers, the body of the mortal remains of Nikki Yadav have been taken to the crematorium for the final rites, because it's been 5 days that the murder took place on 9th of February. and the body in fact started to decompose now. So the body could not be kept at home. Even the family members got barely 10 minutes to mourn. The mother of Nikki Yadav got barely 10 minutes to mourn. We are right now standing just outside the street where Nikki Yadav's residence is in Jhajjar's village. So truly heartbreaking, but the question that the family members are raising is about that whether there will be justice in this case or not, because the family members are truly heartbroken about this entire murder case. Murder over what exactly? They are questioning that if Sahil did not want to marry her, he could have just refused. What exactly was the reason? What exactly was the need to murder their daughter? And if he wanted to marry, he could have just gone out of the relationship and could have gotten married despite the disagreements between the two. That is what the family members are shocked about. In fact, about the investigation, I would like to just give you some updates. Sahil has been sent for a 5-day crime branch custody. The crime branch DCP himself is questioning Sahil Gehlot in this entire case, and this is happening because Sahil has been changing his statements. He initially said that he also wanted to leave for Goa with Nikki, but he could not get a ticket, and then they changed the plan. They wanted to go to Himachal Pradesh, but then again they could not go there. So in the middle of the night, Sahil said that he will be dropping her home and he'll be going back to his home to get married, and that is when the disagreement broke out, the quarrel broke out, after which Sahil murdered Nikki Yadav in cold blood. Akshita?
All right, Akshay, we'll keep tracking the latest. Stay on with us. We'll come back to you for more updates, but let's cut across to more breaking news that's coming in right now. The DCW, the Delhi Commission for Women's, has taken note of what's happened. DCW Chief Swati Maliwal has now shot off a letter to the Delhi Police Commissioner over the Nikki murder case. Swati Maliwal has also tweeted, and I quote, "A few months ago, the heart-wrenching Shraddha murder case shook humanity. Now a girl named Nikki Yadav was killed by her boyfriend, kept the body in the fridge and married someone else the next day. Very scary. How long will girls continue to die like this?" So Swati Maliwal raising a very pertinent question there, asking how long are we going to be seeing such inhumane acts, these kind of shocking murders against women? And you see the similarities. It's eerie really between the Shraddha murder case and this one. In this case too, Nikki was in a live-in relationship with the man you see on your screens, with the murder accused Sahil. And he was in fact cheating on her, was going to get married the very next day, so decided to murder her, dumped her body in his dhaba far away from Delhi. So you've got the DCW chief there continuing to demand justice. She shot off a letter also to the Delhi Police Commissioner on this matter, saying immediate action must be taken. There must be justice for young Nikki. The entire country right now speaking in one voice on this issue. It's shocking really that something like this could happen, but let's also get you details of exactly how things played out that particular night. What is the information that we have? What has the Delhi police really said on record in this matter? Let's break that down for you as well. On what we know so far about this particular case, the exact sequence of events. Remember that this murder had actually taken place a few days ago. So let's tell you that first on February 9th, that was the day in fact that Nikki was murdered. At about 11 p.m, going by the CCTV images that we have, it's at 11 that Sahil, the murder accused, picked up Nikki in his car. This was a white Verna car that he was driving around. Now, immediately after that, they drove from Uttam Nagar in West Delhi to Kashmiri Gate, and there they had parked the car. There was an argument that broke out between Sahil and Nikki. This was over Nikki finding out that he was getting married to someone else. In the course of that argument, Sahil then strangles Nikki. How? He uses the charging cable that was kept in his car. He uses that, strangles her, and then according to the police, he panicked. He didn't know what to do, drove around for some time, and somewhere between 4 to 5 a.m., in fact, you had Sahil taking the vehicle and driving to his dhaba, which is in Mitrang. Now, the dhaba was shut because of his wedding. So what he did was he dumped Nikki's body inside the freezer of the dhaba. In most of these restaurants, you'll see it's the big one that lies on the floor. So he didn't do anything, like Aftab Poonawalla, like chopping up the body. He took the body, put it away there, made his way back, pretended everything's fine, drove back home, and then started getting ready for his wedding. So on February 9th, he murdered Nikki, through the night drove to dump her body in a freezer, came back February 10th, and then, believe it or not, got married. And then this crime was exposed just 2 days ago. Nikki's gruesome murder has obviously brought back haunting memories of what happened to Shraddha Walkar. She was brutally killed by her boyfriend, by her live-in partner Aftab in Mehrauli. She was strangled to death. But the shocking bit in that case was that her body was chopped into 17 pieces. Aftab then stored the body parts in a fridge. All of this obviously coming to the mind when what we're hearing about in this case as well, considering the similarities. Let's break that down for us in our next report.
Two murders, 3 months apart, but eerily similar. The killing of Nikki Yadav by her live-in partner Sahil Gehlot has brought back the horror of Shraddha Walkar's murder by her boyfriend Aftab. 28-year-old Aftab Poonawalla continues to be in jail. He has in fact asked for a pen or pencil and a notebook to make notes on his case. Aftab has also asked a Delhi court to allow him access to English novel and his academic certificates. Delhi police have filed 6,629-page charge sheet in the Shraddha Walkar murder case. It was murder most foul that had stunned India. Aftab allegedly strangled Shraddha, 27-year-old, on May 18, 2022 at their rented accommodation in South Delhi's Chhatarpur. He then chopped up the body into 17 pieces and dumped them in forested areas in and around South Delhi over the next few weeks, a tactic that helped him avoid being caught till his arrest on November 12. Aftab too had stored Shraddha's body parts in a refrigerator. He in fact used a saw to cut up her body and brought home women that he met on dating apps while Shraddha's chopped up body parts were still lying in his apartment. The Delhi police charge sheet says Aftab shifted the body parts when he would bring a date home. Clean the refrigerator, he would again put the body parts back in the fridge once the woman left. Aftab's case comes up for hearing in a Delhi court on February 21 now. Bureau Report, India Today.
So many similarities between the two cases that one tends to question whether Sahil Gehlot, after murdering Nikki, panicked and took inspiration from what Aftab Poonawalla did. And here's why we say that. Let's put out for you the similarities in both the cases. Besides, of course, the fact that in the case of Shraddha Walkar, she was murdered by her live-in partner and her boyfriend of many years, Aftab Poonawalla. It's pretty much the same also for Nikki Yadav. Nikki had met Sahil Gehlot years ago in 2018 at a coaching center, and they were in a live-in relationship. Now, Shraddha was strangled to death at their house in Mehrauli by Aftab. In this case, Nikki was in fact again strangled to death in a white Verna in Sahil's car with the cable wire that was used for charging their phones. Aftab had cut up Shraddha's body and stored it in the fridge in their house. In this case, Sahil didn't chop up her body, but what he did is he drove all the way to his family-owned dhaba, knew nobody will be there because the restaurant was shut, and then proceeded to use that massive freezer to dump Nikki's body in there. Now, Aftab, shockingly, and these details kept coming out, it's been mentioned in the charge sheet as well, of how he dated other girls after killing Shraddha, even with her body parts still in the fridge. Look at what Sahil Gehlot, the monster in this particular case, has done. He drove back on February 10th and then went ahead with his wedding plans, got married to the woman his family had in fact planned, and then now this case and this murder came to light. Akshay, is the police, are the cops really looking into this angle of whether, Sahil actually took inspiration, kind of panicked and decided he'd do exactly what Aftab Poonawalla had done, seeing all the news reports about that horrifying story? Because it's unbelievable and it's, impossible to fathom that two people would resort to this kind of a gruesome crime and this manner of a cover-up.
Well, absolutely, Akshita, and that's the reason the DCP of Crime Branch is interrogating personally Sahil Gehlot to find out that whether this was an action that he took in the heat of the movement or this was something planned. Whether there was some planning that went ahead, that went into this entire crime. Now, another thing that has come up in this entire investigation is that the car that was used by Sahil was not his own. He had a Tata Nexon, whereas the car that he used where the murder took place was a Verna car that was his cousin's car. So it seems that there was something in the mind of this accused, and that is the reason he did not take his own car to Nikki's house, where he ultimately committed this crime. So that is also the reason why police is investigating and interrogating Sahil Gehlot, and a 5-day custody has been was in fact given to the crime branch to find out all the angles, whether about an intention was there or not behind this murder, because that is one of the most important thing as far as the case is concerned. The investigation will be carried out by the crime branch of Delhi police. The family is asking for capital punishment for Sahil Gehlot. They are saying that their daughter, who was just 22-year-old, her life was ended after a mindless decision that was taken by Sahil Gehlot, and they are seeking hardest punishment. In fact, the family, I spoke to the grandfather of Nikki Yadav. He said that he'll even go and meet Prime Minister and the Home Minister to talk about what exactly is happening in cities where the girls can be murdered in the heat of a movement, and nothing can be done about it as far as the security is concerned. As far as
there are obviously going to be larger questions that are also asked in this particular case about how we're going forward as a society, about toxic relationships and the impact it has on these women, many of them paying with their lives clearly. Thanks very much, Akshay, for getting us all of those updates. Now, even as we track this particular case closely, there's another harrowing story that's coming in from Maharashtra's Palghar, where a 27-year-old man named Hardik killed his live-in partner Megha again over a spat. Then he stuffed her body inside a bed box underneath the bed, essentially. The couple had been in a relationship for the last 3 years and had been living together for the past 6 months. Cops have now arrested the accused Hardik. The neighbors in the area also informed the cops that the accused and the victim would fight quite often. Police are investigating as to exactly when this victim was killed.
हार्दिक कुछ काम धंधा नहीं कर सकता था। मेघा प्रोफेशन से नर्स थी, वो पैसा कमा के उसको खिलाती पिलाती थी। हार्दिक कुछ काम नहीं करता था, इसके कारण उनमें हमेशा झगड़े होते थे। उसके बारे में पड़ोसियों ने भी शिकायत की थी। तो उस कारण से, वो झगड़े के कारण से हार्दिक ने मेघा का गुस्से में आकर उसका मर्डर किया, और घर का सामान, उसकी लाश उसने घर के बेड में छुपाई, और बाकी का सामान उसने बहुत जल्दी में कुछ लोगों को बेच के वो पैसा लेके वो फरार हो गया था।
Mustafa Sheikh is joining us live with more details on this story. Mustafa, another shocker at a time when we're talking about the Shraddha Walkar case. We're revisiting that and what's happened in Delhi. In this case, the accused was living off his partner and yet, in a fit of rage, murdered her, stuffed her body. When did this crime happen? Any leads that the police really have gotten?
Well, the Nalasopara police is basically interrogating the accused who has been arrested from Rajasthan yesterday, and they are saying that this murder has happened somewhere in the last weekend, Saturday or Sunday, when this incident has taken place in a fit of rage because the couple used to fight. This is also a case of a live-in relationship, and apparently in this case Hardik called his girlfriend's auntie who was living in Karnataka and informed her that he has killed her and dumped the body in the cavity under the bed, and then she informed the police, and this body was discovered, and the sequence, the way it has happened, is also shocking back to you.
Very true, Mustafa. We'll keep tracking the latest on that. Thanks for the moment. On the other side of a short break here on 6 p.m. Prime, we're getting you details of a shocking story from Tamil Nadu, where an army personnel, a serving soldier, was beaten to death by a DMK councillor and 9 aides. There is endless outrage, rightfully so, and this DMK Neta right now is on the run.
तो जैसे सबसे तेज आपकी टैगलाइन है, तो इसी तरह से सबसे तेज हमारी सरकार की लाइफलाइन है.
Thank Mr. Puri.
I thank you for giving me the chance to address you.
Terrorism now a global issue.
The First Lady position is so unusual.
Never in my career did I ever see that love and affection in any other country than we saw in India in 79.
Pakistan has been responsible chronically for association with sponsorship of terrorist groups.
Never forget. Sammy?
You can finally catch Steven Spielberg's latest offering, The Fabelmans, which has been winning hearts all over the world. The film is finally out in theatres in India. It's deeply personal for Spielberg as the film is based on his experience as a child in Arizona. The film presents a universal coming-of-age story about an isolated young man's pursuit of his dreams.
In this family, it's the scientists versus the artists. Sammy's on my team, takes after me. What kind of movie are we gonna make?
The movie features an ensemble cast of Gabrielle Labelle, Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Seth Rogen and Judd Hirsch. The Fabelmans is written by Steven Spielberg in collaboration with Tony Kushner. The duo has earlier worked on some amazing films like Lincoln and Munich.
She should have been a concert piano player. What she got in her heart is what you got.
You can't just love something, you also have to take care of it. It's more important than your hobby.
Can you stop calling it a hobby?
The film received 5 nominations at the 80th Golden Globe Awards and won the award for Best Motion Picture Drama and Best Director for Spielberg. The Fabelmans has also been nominated for the Oscars in not 1 but 7 categories, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Lead Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Production Design and Best Original Score.
I don't know what to do anymore.
You do what your heart says you have to.
Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
What was your favorite part?
Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has repeatedly spoken about the Dravidian model. He spoke of Vidial also several times, which means a dawn in Tamil Nadu. And these are comments he's made before as well. But never have we seen this kind of an incident anywhere in the country. Is this what the Dravidian model is all about in Tamil Nadu, where a 33-year-old soldier has been killed by a DMK Neta who is right now, believe it or not, absconding. He's not been caught despite this crime happening days ago. An army man, our national hero, was beaten to death. Why? Because he dared to wash clothes near a pond. It led to some sort of an argument. So this DMK councillor took law into his own hands and then went ahead and murdered young Prabhu. Obviously, there's a lot of outrage right now. The man you see on your screens, Chinnasamy, this councillor, is absconding. His son has been taken into custody. 9 others along with him were there and they murdered this soldier in cold blood, all over a fight over where he's washing his clothes.
No, this is happening everywhere. This is happening everywhere. Yesterday in Uttar Pradesh there was a clash and a mother and daughter died. So everywhere it's happening. These are all small things. If DMK man is involved, we have already taken action against many men who were involved in criminal activities. The same will apply to anybody. Our CM is very strong that the DMK, whoever it is, whether he belongs to DMK or not, if there is a crime committed, the criminal will be punished.
See, right from the day one DMK came to power, they are taking law into their own hands. And they are doing all these kinds of violence throughout Tamil Nadu. This is what is happening. In fact, the DMK ministers have been instigating, provoking the DMK cadres to attack or, even our state president, Mr. Annamalai's hand. They said that they will chop off Mr. Annamalai's hand. And, one DMK Neta was telling that he will send terrorists to Kashmir and kill the governor of Tamil Nadu. And one more Neta, the organizing secretary of DMK, said that even if a murder happens in assembly, there will be no case. So that is the mindset of DMK. And they are taking the, law into their own hands and they are doing all these things.
Can't simply call it as a man is dead. He is Jawan. He is the one who protects us. And he himself doesn't have the safety in the state. This incident has certainly brought a disrepute and shame to Tamil Nadu. And this is DMK's culture. It runs in their blood. Not going by the law of the land, taking law into their own hands to any extent is their culture. And this is not the one such incident. There are many incidents like this where an elected representative takes law into their own hands and the Chief Minister Stalin and the party head will remain as a mute spectator.
Pramod Madhav joins us live from Chennai with more details on this. Pramod, not a single word of condemnation so far from Chief Minister Stalin. A DMK councillor is accused of murdering a serving soldier, and it doesn't look like the government is worried, deterred at all.
Akshita, it is extremely upsetting that such a news has come forward, and we've also got fresh information that the rest of the absconding, including Chinnasamy, has been apprehended, but the police have to confirm it. But we also have further disturbing news that this incident occurred on 8th of this month, and Prabhu was supposed to join back on his duty on 10th. He had come to attend a family event, and this is where the clash has occurred, all because a person from his family was trying to wash clothes and the councillor did not like it. We spoke to the family of Prabhu and they claim that the councillor was completely speaking in an extremely derogatory manner, and that is when the clash broke out. And even after that, they negotiated and they left. But the councillor and a certain group of men, along with his son, came back that particular night. And this is when the altercation occurred, where Prabhu and his brother Prabhakaran were very badly injured. Prabhu had tried to save his father, and that is when he got very badly injured, and he unfortunately died yesterday. Now DMK is only trying to dismiss this as personal enmity, and they claim that action will be definitely taken. Still, we haven't not seen anything from DMK party-wise action against Chinnasamy so far.
Shocking details that are emerging right now. But it's quite simply one thing. It's the fact that this councillor, this Neta, is drunk on power, thought he'd get away with it, and so went ahead so brazenly with this kind of murder. Thanks, Pramod, for joining us with those details. We will, for sure, continue tracking all the latest that comes in on the story. I'm slipping into a very short break. Coming up on the other side, we're focusing on all the latest coming in on the BBC story. Second day of searches by the Income Tax Department. So that's 30 hours plus right now. What are the big takeaways from the story? What's happened so far? We round up for you in just a bit.
It's a relatively cool morning. Best way out is chai. Thoda chai karna, garam chai. Perfect. How is everybody? Kaise ho? Yeah, fine.
How are you?
Very well. What is going to happen in elections? क्या होगा?
इलेक्शन तो अच्छा ही होगा.
अच्छा का मतलब क्या है?
बट इस बार मुझे लग रहा है बीजेपी रिटेन करेगा.
बीजेपी रिटेन करेगा?
रिटेन करेगा.
बीजेपी वर्सेस लेफ्ट फ्रंट. बेटर गवर्नमेंट किसका था? बीजेपी का या लेफ्ट फ्रंट का?
बीजेपी का गवर्नमेंट. नाउ वी आर सीइंग डेवलपमेंट एवरीवेयर.
यू आर सीइंग डेवलपमेंट एवरीवेयर.
लास्ट 25 इयर्स क्या हो रहा था, जो सीपीएम का लोग था, अंडर क्वालिटी लोगों का नौकरी मिलता था, बट अभी लास्ट 5 इयर्स। जो क्वालिटी आदमी है उसको भी नौकरी मिल रहा है, ठीक है।
बट कई लोग तो ये कह रहे हैं कि हमको नौकरी नहीं मिला है, बहुत प्रॉमिस किया, ये होगा वो होगा।
एक्चुअली मेन क्या है कि पहले जो है नौकरी मिलने के लिए किसी नेता के पीछे घूमना पड़ता था, अभी वो चीज नहीं है क्योंकि बायबैक का सिस्टम उठ गया। ये बस रिटर्न दीजिए, नहीं तो नौकरी नहीं मिलेगी। रिटर्न में आप क्वालिफाई हो गए तो आपको नौकरी है, ट्रांसपेरेंसी है। इसमें क्या है कि हमको जो एजुकेटेड लड़के लोग हैं, जो एजुकेटेड आदमी है, वो क्या है कि नेताओं के पीछे नहीं जाना पड़ता।
Remember, of course, Manik Sarkar was the chief minister of the left front for 20 years. Manik Saha is the chief minister now of the BJP. So Manik Sarkar or Manik Saha?
Manik Shah is better than Manik Sarkar.
चाय पी के चाय त्रिपुरा वाली, चलो कटिंग चाय, अर्ली मॉर्निंग कटिंग चाय, ग्रेट इंडियन ट्रेडिशन।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
"30 hours and counting." The IT surveys at the BBC office continues as we speak in several parts of Delhi as well as in Mumbai. 2 offices in Mumbai and 1 office in Delhi that the searches continue at. So what are the big takeaways? Let's tell you first in our report.
Over 24 hours and counting. The searches at BBC's 3 offices in India continues. From Delhi to Mumbai, income tax officers have been conducting searches in the BBC's offices since Tuesday morning over alleged tax irregularities by the British broadcaster.
The tax authorities will come out with a statement. In the statement, they will point towards all those things that they have as proof against the BBC. IT department is maintaining that they have proof that BBC has done financial fraud, which is the reason why they are inside the building for the second day.
The survey is still going on, and sources say that the assessment could go on for some time, after which it will be decided whether a case to be made and what case to be made under what sections of the Income Tax Act against BBC and its subsidiary organizations.
The company has asked its India employees to be ready for questioning and cooperate in the ongoing probe. They have also reassured employees that their personal tax records will not be scrutinized. But how is the world reacting to this survey of BBC offices? The UK and US governments have taken note of the searches but have not offered any endorsement or condemnation. Meanwhile, the political showdown over the IT department searches continues as the opposition accused the Modi government of targeting BBC after the Modi documentary.
I don't believe this, that because BBC is doing something against of this government, and that's why just next day they started their operation like this. This is very unfortunate, and this is a political vendetta. BJP is running the government through this vendetta only.
BBC जैसी जो क्रेडिबल एजेंसी है, न्यूज एजेंसी है, उस पे छापा मारते हो, उस पे रेड करते हो, तो मैसेज क्या जाता है बाहर? दूसरी तरफ से गरीबों के घर डेमोलिश कर रहे हो, तो उसका मैसेज क्या जाता है बाहर? उसका मैसेज बहुत खराब जाता है कि जो हिंदुस्तान है वो आगे जाने के बजाय पीछे जा रहा है.
The BJP meanwhile has dismissed the opposition's attacks, deeming the tax evasion charges against BBC serious.
वृत्तवाहिनी है कि जिसका रेपुटेशन काफ़ी बहुत बड़ा है और उनके दफ्तर के ऊपर आज एनफोर्समेंट ने विजिट की, ये बहुत गंभीर बात है. इस देश के लोगों को भी एक मैसेज इस ज़रिए देने की कोशिश की गई है.
Sources have informed India Today that the searches may continue for 3 days in all, and then all eyes will be on the IT officers as the department will have to explain exactly what prompted these searches and what was found. With Aishwarya Paliwal and Divyesh Singh, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's take this across to our reporters on the ground. Aishwarya Paliwal is joining us live from the BBC office in Delhi. We have Divyesh Singh tracking the latest in the Mumbai BBC office. Aishwarya, I'd like to begin with you. Good evening. Any communication that's coming from the IT department on what their discovery or what their takeaways from these searches for over 30 hours has been?
Well, Akshita, Bureau, there is no word from the IT department, and let me tell you, Bureau, whenever they are doing these kind of surveys, rarely do we get, any kind of thing from those officers, especially who are inside. But yes, as you rightly pointed out, it has been 30 hours and more, and the IT officials are still inside this building from where we are reporting. The 5th and the 7th floor have been cornered off. No one is allowed to go inside. No one is allowed to come outside. What has actually happened is that we did see some of the people were protesting right outside the BBC office, because of which additional forces, the ITBP forces, have been brought here. There is barricading which has been brought up. Let me tell you, Akshita, there is a possibility, from what I am understanding from my sources, that the survey could continue well into night and also into tomorrow morning. Let me tell you, some of the data has been cloned. That's the information that we have got from the IT department. Data from the phone and laptop of senior people who have been working at BBC has already been cloned. It has been sent to CBDT. Still, there are some things that the IT department wants to survey more, look into more, because of which we are seeing the survey continuing. It looks like late into the night this survey will continue. Akshita.
Let's take this across also to Divyesh Singh. Divyesh, there's been communication from BBC to its employees today as well, saying very clearly they must cooperate with the investigation.
Well, Akshita, BBC in a tweet on Tuesday had said that they'll cooperate with the investigation, they'll cooperate with the Income Tax Department, and the input that we've received from our sources from Income Tax Department is that BBC Global News India Private Limited, which is an Indian company, it is an India registered company, but it is subsidiary of a foreign company. This is the company which is primarily under investigation by the Income Tax Department. The assessment being carried out by income tax officials at Delhi office of BBC and Mumbai office of BBC is regarding BBC Global News India Private Limited and its subsidiaries. So these are the companies, this is the company which is under investigation, which is being assessed right now. And as Aishwarya rightly pointed out, that only after assessment it will be known what kind of tax irregularities are there. As of now, we know that Income Tax Department doesn't act without intelligence. They do act on intelligence. Right. They had an input that there had been tax violation, there had been violation in the...
Those are the allegations, yes, but we'll see whether anything comes out of these searches, which we're being told will go on for 3 days in all. Aishwarya, Divyesh, thank you for getting us those updates. I know there's a lot of politics also that's playing out over these searches or survey, as it's being called by the IT department. But is it the first time we're really seeing this kind of a crackdown on BBC? I want to focus on that and get you some data of how in the last many years, really, the BBC has come under scrutiny. And I'm not talking about, the clampdown on BBC during the emergency or any of that. over tax payments. Has the BBC faced fire in India before? The answer is yes, and that too under the erstwhile UPA government. Let's break down for you the number of times, not once or twice, but 4 times really, that BBC has faced action. In the term of 2002 to 2003, the IT department had issued a notice to the BBC on this particular issue. The BBC was essentially issued a notice for this reason, because they were told to pay tax also on revenue that's generated in India. Now, this was an issue, in fact, that the BBC immediately challenged. So right now the status is that it's pending before the IT Department Appellate Tribunal. So it's still something that's being taken up right now, and it's not the only year. So between 2002 to 2003, a notice was issued. Again, between 2003 to 2004, the IT Department issued a similar notice to the BBC. Again, they were told to go ahead and pay this tax on income generated in India, on revenue generated in India. It's pretty much the same status here too, with it pending. Now, again, this happened in 2006 to 2007, where another third notice was issued by the IT department. Note here that these weren't surveys or searches. These were, in fact, notices that were issued to the BBC. Similarly, it's a matter that the BBC went ahead and challenged. The last notice also that was issued by the IT department was between 2008 to 2009. So 4 times that you've seen the UPA government, or also under the UPA government at least, the IT department going ahead and pulling up the BBC, saying pay up on the income that's being generated in India. These are all pending right now before the AT, which is in fact the IT department's appellate tribunal. Now, amid all of this, there's been a lot of talk about how the global media has viewed what's happened with the BBC. We told you how the US and UK governments have responded. What has been the top headline in most of your global publications? Let's take you through that. You look at the Washington Post. This, in fact, is their headline, where they've said the Indian government raids BBC offices in wake of documentary critical of Modi. 2 aspects that I'd like to highlight. One is the use of the word raid, and the other linking it to the Modi documentary. And you'll see this as a similar trend in almost all international publications. The New York Times, this is their headline. It says, Indian tax agents raid BBC offices after airing of document critical of Modi. So you see again, those wordings very similar. You'll notice a similar thread across all publications that we've pulled out here. The Wall Street Journal, another very popular, worldwide famous publication, again says Indian authorities go ahead and search BBC offices, and again refers to the documentary about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. CNN, take a look at their headline. Indian authorities raid BBC offices after broadcast of Modi documentary. Almost all these headlines say this is a direct impact of the documentary. The Guardian says BBC offices in India raided by tax officials amid Modi documentary fallout. So you look at how the wordings are all different, but pretty much the same message that's being sent across. And finally, the Al Jazeera. Indian tax agents raid BBC offices in wake of Modi documentary. Same message being sent across by the global media. And the opposition has been saying that this is the image you're now putting out, that India is a censor state, and that's the message going out to the world according to the opposition. With this, I'm slipping into a very short break here on 6 p.m. Prime. Do stay with us. Coming up on the other side, we're getting you all the details about King Charles's upcoming coronation. The big takeaway is that the Queen Consort, Camilla, will wear a crown without the controversial Kohinoor for the coronation of her husband.
You're thinking about investors. See, one is the view on the economy, and the second is the view on the markets. And I think the view on the economy is still quite rosy, especially on the relative basis. I think India is one of the few economies with a fair degree of visibility on medium-term growth. The challenge for the last 16 months, and that continues, has been on the markets, because they were pricing in a lot of that optimism by, I think, August, September of 2021. And since then, we have seen this period of consolidation, which I think can run for another year or so. Now, I am actually less in the camp of the India versus China trade, meaning that if China does well, then India does badly, and vice versa. I'm more in the India and China trade, because when we did this bottom-up analysis of 6,300 funds, we realized that even during the period in which we saw significant FII selling from India, the India weight in those funds did not change. And what that suggests to me is that they were trimming off on India because EM funds were seeing outflows, Asia funds were seeing outflows. So as optimism came back around China, and of course that market has moved up 50%, India started to see its own share of flows. And I think the tug of war between domestic and foreign institutions is likely to continue, because a lot of the domestic institutional flows are what I call the unintended flows, meaning I put money, or my some deduction from my salary goes into EPFO, and then EPFO puts 15-20% into the stock market. I buy, I don't, but some people do buy guaranteed return funds from insurance companies, and a lot of that money goes into equity markets. A lot of the folks buying SIPs are more looking for beating fixed deposits over a medium term, and therefore are not really, investing in equities directly. And therefore, I think this tug of war between unintended but very large flows of capital domestically keep the market a bit more expensive than it needs to be, and FIIs keep selling. And on that measure, I think we have actually corrected quite a bit, in the sense that the India premium to the world on price to earnings used to be close to 60% at the peak. It has now corrected to around 20%, which is kind of middle of the range of the range that we saw in the prior decade. So it is less expensive relatively than it used to be, though I think there is still a bit of correction that is due.
Welcome back. You're watching 6 p.m. Prime, and let's get to our next report. It is about The Crown, not the royal saga on Netflix, but the crown that Queen consort Camilla will be wearing at the coronation of her husband, King Charles III. And Camilla, interestingly, has chosen not to wear the Kohinoor-studded crown that's been the star attraction of many British coronations. Why, though? We'll tell you in our report.
The crown, the most prominent symbol of the British monarchy. Its pride, the Kohinoor diamond. The stunning jewel that was seized by the East India Company in Punjab from Maharaja Ranjit Singh in 1849. Since then, the Kohinoor has played a starring role in British coronations, but not anymore. Queen consort Camilla will wear a crown without the controversial Kohinoor for the coronation of her husband, King Charles III. Camilla instead has chosen Queen Mary's crown with a replica of one of the world's largest cut diamonds. Reports suggest that diplomatic sensitivities may have prompted Camilla's final choice. After Queen Elizabeth's death, demand to return the Kohinoor back to India reignited. The Indian government also started negotiations on this issue. For years now, the Kohinoor has come to represent the British colonial rule's loot, plunder and deceit. While all eyes are now on King Charles' coronation, all eyes will also be on the crown. Bureau Report, India Today.
That's all we have time for in this edition of 6 p.m. Prime. Thanks very much for tuning in. Coming up on the other side is Mission 2024 with Preeti Chaudhary. She's going to be focusing on Tripura. Curtain raiser as the state gears up to vote tomorrow.
Tragedies can either break you or make you.
And this story from Naxal hit Gadchiroli will inspire you in many ways. Bharati Bogami was just 17 when her father, the Sarpanch of Lahiri village, was shot dead by Naxals in 2002. A brain tumor survivor, she faced several financial problems and yet continued her struggle to become a doctor. She now serves in the same area where her father was killed.